We have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Los Angeles Chargers in Cleveland. This is your Week 9 2024 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe if you're new. Also hit the like button. Let's start off with the home team, the Cleveland Browns. Last week was the perfect week because you saw Jameis Winston go out there and have 3 passing touchdowns. They also scored over 20 points for the first time this season, and they beat their division rival, the Baltimore Ravens. It doesn't get any better than that. They won the game 29-24, and like I mentioned before, Jameis Winston looked like a superstar. He was 27 of 41 on the day, 3 passing touchdowns. He did have 2 passes that could have went for an interception, but they didn't. He needs to clean up those mistakes in this game because the Los Angeles Chargers have one of the best passing defenses in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns trailing behind them by a couple of spots. But when I look at this offense for the Cleveland Browns, they can beat you with each area of the field. You have Cedric Tillman last week, who looked like a true number 1 wide receiver. He had 99 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Elijah Moore, a guy that can go out there and get you between 15 and 20 yards. 8 catches for 85 receiving yards last week. And Jerry Jeudy, 5 catches for 79 receiving yards. And Jerry Jeudy has a lot of experience when you talk about going against the Los Angeles Chargers because he used to play in this division with the Denver Broncos. Different coaching staff here. He's used to going against Brandon Staley and that coaching staff, but it's still some of the same faces. In this game, you want to dial back on the pass attempts with Jameis Winston. The man had 41 pass attempts last week, and it worked to perfection. He's a gunslinger. That's what he's going to do. He's going to go out there and sling the football around. It's the reason why this man's a former first overall pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he had 5,000 passing yards in the season. 30 passing touchdowns one season, but he also had over 30 interceptions as well. You don't want Jameis Winston to go out there and get bit by the turnover bug. So you still want to run this offense through your run game. And that's what they did last week. You saw Nick Chubb start to get back to him former self. And as the season progresses and as he gets more comfortable playing, coming back from that knee injury, I expect for Nick Chubb to be better. But you look at what Nick Chubb was able to do last week. 52 rushing yards. That was it. Deontay Foreman, 26 rushing yards. Get the run game going in this game. Run towards the interior of the defensive line of the Los Angeles Chargers. And the reason why I say that, they have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Both of those guys can go out there and stop the run, especially with Khalil Mack. He gives you nothing on the outside because he protects that outside shoulder. And the same with Joey Bosa as well. They're phenomenal pass rushers, but don't forget they're elite run stoppers as well. You want to run away from these guys, and having a guy like Nick Chubb just go straight up the middle. And I'm not saying that the Chargers rushing defense is terrible because it's not, but in order to find success against this Chargers front, is going to be through the middle. Then you can work off of play action, something Jameis Winston did an amazing job with doing last week. They also have David Njoku as well. He had 5 catches, 61 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. Use him in 2nd and 3rd down situations. Force a guy like Derwin James to come down and cover him in one-on-one situations, and you can have him run some corner routes as well. At that point in time, you can have a guy like Cedric Tillman come across the middle like how they did last week, and that can go for a touchdown. So pay attention to those type of plays in this game for the Cleveland Browns. They've also done a very good job of using motion as well to get the run game going. You may see a guy like Jerry Jeudy motion from the inside and go back to the outside, then motion back, and they'll run the football behind him. It's just to cause distraction to the defense, to the opposing defense, and just open up some rushing lanes for the running back. But you have to get the run game going, and Jameis Winston has to take care of the football. And do not go out there and throw risky balls, because if you do, the Los Angeles Chargers, they may make you pay. And you went against one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL last week, the Baltimore Ravens. We're talking about going against one of the best passing defenses this week. While I look at the defense for the Cleveland Browns, they have Myles Garrett, they have Zadarius Smith, 2 very good edge rushers. Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Since he's been drafted, he's been one of the best pass rushers. He can go off in this game. It's going to be very interesting to see him match up against Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt go against Zadarius Smith. Those 2 bookends go against these 2 amazing offensive tackles. But with that being said, the interior protection for the Los Angeles Chargers has not been good this season. Bradley at the center position was protecting his teammate last week in Justin Herbert. He knocked over the defensive player. That's great and all. But as a player, he has not been consistent this season. Go and get a lot of pressure up the middle and force Justin Herbert not to be able to step up inside the pocket and play aggressive at the line of scrimmage. They have Ladd McConkey, who can go out there and break a lot of tackles, and he can give you a lot of problems. And Quentin Johnson is questionable for this game. That's their true number one wide receiver, and he's been out the last couple weeks dealing with an ankle injury. They have Joshua Palmer as well. But when I look at the secondary with the Cleveland Browns, they have a lot of talent on the back end. Denzel Ward is questionable with a concussion. This is his sixth concussion that he suffered. Pay attention to him in the future in the NFL. But besides Denzel Ward, they still have other good cornerbacks. You look at Martin Emerson Jr. He's very good in his own right. You look at Greg Newsome as well. And they have Grant Delpit and Warren Thornhill. Their secondary, we saw this from last season underneath Jim Schwartz. They will go out there. They will play aggressive. They will press up at the line of scrimmage. And those safeties will help them out as well. But it starts up front. Put that pressure on Justin Herbert through the middle of that offensive line. And do not be surprised. They try to slide Myles Garrett more so towards the inside to where he can beat up on one of those guards and the tackle at the same time. And the next thing you know, a guy can free up and you can put that pressure on Justin Herbert. What sucks is that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is out for this game. He got knocked out of last game. He got hit hard by Derrick Henry. So he may miss the next couple of weeks. And that's going to be a real blow to this defense, because he's one of the best linebackers on this team in terms of doing everything, being a coverage linebacker, run stopper, and blitzing up the middle. They have Jordan Hicks as well, who is questionable, and Devin Bush. Be on the lookout for those guys to try to step up. But it's a huge void in the middle of this defense without Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You have to go out there and stop the run and play aggressive on those wide receivers and get that pressure towards the middle of the field on Justin Herbert. Now let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. This team last week, they also had a great week as well. They went against one of the worst teams in the NFL in the New Orleans Saints, and boy, did they capitalize over and over and over again. They won the game 26-8. You may ask yourself, how did the Saints get 8 points? It was a safety early in the game. You want to get away from that. Mistake-free football is the best football. Justin Herbert has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to touchdown to interception ratio. That's what you want to do against the Cleveland Browns. Justin Herbert last week, 20 of 32, 279 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He did get sacked 3 times. This offensive line has to play better in this game. And Joe Alt has to continue to step up, the same with Rashawn Slater. But the interior of this offensive line, they have to show up. It's been too many times this season where Justin Herbert does not have enough time inside the pocket. He can't step up in the pocket. We saw that against the Arizona Cardinals, and we saw this last week as well. And it's starting to have a negative impact on their run game, because this is one of those teams. They're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. But over the last couple of weeks, the rushing has taken a dip. J.K. Dobbins, a talented running back, only had 57 rushing yards last week and 1 rushing touchdown. Justin Herbert had 49 rushing yards. Justin Herbert has to use his legs in this game, because I can see the Cleveland Browns going out there and giving this team a lot of fits. The Cleveland Browns rushing defense is better than what it is on paper. Remember, they don't have Deshaun Watson starting anymore. He's out for the rest of the season. So their defense is going to be able to go out there and catch their breath for a couple of drives. You want to try to go out there and run the football as much as possible, but open up the pass game and take more deep shots down the field. Ladd McConkey had a beautiful play last week. He had 111 receiving yards on the day, 2 receiving touchdowns. He had a play that went for 60 yards and it went for a touchdown, and he was breaking tackles as well. You went against one of the worst tackling defenses in the NFL, but Ladd McConkey is very quick coming out his break. Use a lot of out routes in this game and a lot of slants as well, and get the football out quick. You also had Josh Palmer, 72 receiving yards last week off of 2 catches. Will Dissly, 5 catches for 41 receiving yards. He's becoming a top receiving threat with this offense, and he's an amazing blocker as well. Yes, get the run game going, but open up this pass game first. Hopefully Quentin Johnson can play, and I am concerned about him because he hasn't played in the last couple weeks. He's still recovering from that ankle injury. They need this kid on the field. I'm not saying he's a top 10 wide receiver, because he's not, but he adds another wrinkle to this offense. But the Chargers are going to try to go out there and be aggressive. I don't know how this is going to work out going against an aggressive defense with the Cleveland Browns, but one thing I do know, Justin Herbert, he's up for the task. He's been phenomenal all season long, and he's been slinging the rock around. I'm not worried about Justin Herbert in this game. I'm worried about the interior of the offensive line, and I'm also worried about Joe Alt as well to see how he's going to match up against these veteran pass rushers. Now, let's talk about the defense for the Los Angeles Chargers. Last week, it was easy to feast on Spencer Rattler, rookie quarterback. But when you go against a guy like Jameis Winston, he's a very talented quarterback. When I look at the defense for the Chargers, one of the best defenses in the NFL, hands down. They don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. They have a lot of wide receivers that can give you problems. They have Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman. You can play that press man coverage, but I would suggest for you to run back your play like how you did a couple weeks ago when you went against the Arizona Cardinals. They did not have a spy up for Kyler Murray. Lucky for the Chargers in this situation, Jameis Winston does not have the speed and the mobility to get around like Kyler Murray, not even close. And the reason why I would say go back and run that game plan, the secondary played very good in that game. They played good enough to win that game, and they lost against the Los Angeles Chargers. You want to play this by ear. Whoever the hottest wide receiver is at the time, that's when you put your number one corner on them. And Christian Fulton is questionable for this game, but they have other guys in the secondary that can still step up. Now, Asante Samuel Jr. is still on IR, but you have Cam Hart, who can go out there and give him a lot of problems. And I like him a lot as well as a true number one cornerback. He's filled in very nicely. When I look at Bud Dupree as well, he's a backup pass rusher, but that's a man that can give you a lot of pass rush. I'm looking at Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Go out there and put a lot of pressure on Jameis Winston. Force him to make mistakes. That's what you want to do. Get him outside the pocket. Knock him off his spot. Look at what Joe Flacco was able to do last season with the Cleveland Browns. He had major success. He's a gunslinger. And Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco, they're similar quarterbacks. Now, Jameis Winston is a little bit faster, but you want to knock these guys off their spots. You want to make them panic. You don't have to go out there and get 4 sacks in this game, but you want to go out there and create a lot of pressure, because pressure, yes, it can create diamonds, but at the same time, it can bust pipes. We've seen this in the past with Jameis Winston. He'll go out there one week, have 3 to 4 passing touchdowns. The next week, he'll have 3 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions. And we know what the Chargers offense can do. When they go out there and they get a turnover, they go back on the offensive end, they drain the clock, they beat you with time possession. Force Jameis Winston to make those mistakes and do not give him all day in the pocket. And that's one thing the Ravens struggled with last week. Lucky enough for the Chargers, you have Khalil Mack, you have Joey Bosa, 2 very good run stoppers and 2 very good elite pass rushers as well. When I look at the interior of the defensive line with the Chargers, you have to be able to go out there and contain Nick Chubb. Stop that run game. I'm looking at Poona Ford in this matchup, and also Denzel Perryman as well. If you let Nick Chubb run out of his mind, then they work off a play action, and the next thing you know, you're in trouble. Also pay attention to Derwin James in this matchup as well. With that being said, this is going to be the battle of the defenses. Last year, the Cleveland Browns had a top defense. As soon as Deshaun Watson went down, their defense got better. We saw what their defense was able to do with Joe Flacco. And last week, they had a solid outing on the defensive end as well. And the Chargers, they've had one of the best defenses all season long. With that being said, I do believe the Los Angeles Chargers will win this game. But I have the Chargers win this game in ugly fashion. I think the Los Angeles Chargers are going to win this game 24-20. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game? The Los Angeles Chargers or the Cleveland Browns? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.